Good morning, everybody. I'm glad to be on with you today, and so I pray that the Lord is blessed by what pray that you are blessed by what the Lord has for you in this day, not just in this devotional, but throughout the day, in every encounter that He makes for you, in every word that He whispers in your ear. I pray you are blessed and transformed and released and healed in every place that you stand today. So, good morning, Judy. It's good to see you on here. Pastor Jim was supposed to be doing this devotional, and we discovered last night. And I pulled up the schedule, but he is currently at a CAT scan, still trying to figure out what's going on with his gut, and so he's either going to have superpowers or glow in the dark by the time this is over. I'm just saying. So just keep praying for his healing. And it's interesting is that's what the Lord has me talking to you guys about today as well. So just pray for him, and we'll see what happens. You know, he's already come so far from where he was. And we're grateful to the Lord for that. So his physical healing is just next up. So good morning, Pastor Rob. It's good to see you on here as well. I'm just going to go ahead and get started. A few years back, it seems like everything pre-COVID was like 100 years ago. So this was probably not that long ago. But we used to have what we called our Friday night encounters, where we would have these big worship meetings, and people would come from different churches, and we would worship and we would pray. And it was, I mean, they weren't like large gatherings, but they were, people would just come and we would worship, we would pray, we would have the word. Sometimes other speakers would come. Philip, it's good to see you. And so they were wonderful, fabulous, powerful evenings. We loved them. They were so good. And maybe, I don't know, maybe the Lord will lead us back into that once we can start gathering again. But I so vividly this one. We had a woman that would come to Friday night encounters. She came to church every once in a while, but she had her own church and she had her own pastor. But she would come to encounter and she would worship with us. And she had some pretty profound and very visible physical ailments. She was a woman that you would look at her and you would know that she was physically disabled. And so one of those Friday night encounters, there was a group of young men from another church that decided that they were just all up about her getting healed. And so they come over and they ask her if they all the good protocols, but they asked her if they could pray for her, and she's like, sure. So they laid hands on her and they prayed for 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 her. And they're like, do you feel better? And she's like, I'm good. And like, oh, you're not healed. They prayed for her and they prayed for her and they prayed for her. And finally, you know, Pastor Jim went over and just kind of tapped him on the shoulder and said, okay, we're good. We're good. And they left. And he was talking to her afterwards, and the words that she said were just so profound to me. He says, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And she goes, Pastor, they just don't understand. I'm already healed. See, we look at our physical ailments and we think that I am not healed if I still have physical ailments. We could say that, you know, Pastor Jim, he's currently getting stuffed into a donut and having pictures taken of his insides. You could say he's not really healed, but that's really not, I think, what when God says he's going to heal us, I'm not sure that that's really always what he's talking about. On Sunday, Pastor Jim's message on Sunday, he said that one of the gifts of Christmas is holy habitation, right? And he says God releases daily healing and restoration over our lives. But healing is not just the removal of disease, it's transformation, not just relief. And I was praying about that this morning as I was praying for Jim's procedure. And healing is not just transformation. It's not just removal of disease. It's not just healing of disease, it's relief. And if you look at the story of Jesus when he heals the woman with the issue of blood in Mark chapter 5, and she says, you know, she pushes through the crowds and she grabs a hold of the hem of his garment, and he feels the power go out for him, right? And you know, he says, who touched me? Who touched me? And when he sees her and he sees her face and she's trembling before him, he says to her these words. He says, daughter, your faith, go in peace and be healed of your disease. That's Mark chapter 5, verse 34. Your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease. I think that so often that we consider that if we have enough faith, God will heal us. faith, then God will heal our spouse or our friend or that stranger or that lady at church or whatever. And we forget that the healing that God's talking about, I think, so often is what Jesus said to this woman: your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed. And so her faith making her well is separated from her physical healing. Her faith making her well is the transformation of her mind, of her spirit, of who she is, of her identity. You know, with an issue of blood, she would have been considered unclean, so she wouldn't be able to be in her house and everything she and all of this. And so Jesus looking her in the eyes and saying, your faith has made you well, is he is releasing her from the burden of being other, of being unwell, of being sick, of being unclean, of being separated from him. And so I think when we look and we put so much guilt and judgment on ourselves when we're not better, we think, wow, I just don't have enough faith. I just don't believe enough. I just don't have enough faith that God would heal me. Or when we don't get well, it's like, wow, I don't have enough faith for God. And I think we get too caught up in what the physical manifestation of the healing should look like. And we forget that what God is about, what the Lord is about, what Jesus is about, is abiding in us. And that our faith making us well is our faith restoring us to what he's designed us to be, who he's designed us to be, how he's designed us to be. And so I as we come to the end of 2020 and we're moving into 2021, I realized this morning, this is my second to last devotional in this year of restoration, right? We're supposed to be in this year of restoration. And so often we look and we go, I don't feel so much restored. This is really hard and really difficult. But has your faith in this year made you well? Has your faith in this year sustained you? Has your faith in this year encouraged you? Have you learned to lean more on Jesus than ever before? Have you learned that he is trustworthy even when times are hard, even when the healing doesn't look evident? Has your faith made you well? And so you have a couple of weeks left to just really ponder that and to think about it and to say, okay, Lord, in this year, has my faith made me well? Am I filled with peace? And so I'm excited for what this year has taught us. I'm excited for what this year has brought to us. It hasn't been easy, not for a single one of us. It hasn't been simple. It's not been what any of us would choose. I don't think anyone would say, you know what, I think we should have a global pandemic and mess with every relationship and mess with everything that we have and have people get really sick and have people die and all of this to go on. But Jesus says, your faith has made you well. And so I encourage you that even if things are hard right now, go to Jesus, grab a hold of the hem of his garment, have him look you in the eye, and trust that his faith is making you well, making you strong, restoring you. Not physical body, maybe, but not guaranteed. Not physical body, but restoring you to who you are. That you are a daughter of the King. That you are a son of the King. That you belong. That you have purpose. That you have destiny. That you have a plan that the Lord is calling you to walk into. And you can only do that when your faith has made you well. When your faith has reminded you of who you are. So I pray you have a very Merry Christmas. I won't get to talk to you before then, probably. Have a very Merry Christmas, whatever it is that you do, even when it looks different, even when it looks strange, even when it looks not like what you want it to look like. I pray that in Christmas, in these next few days, that you, as you celebrate the gift of Jesus, that you would celebrate the fact that that your faith has made you well, has restored you, has released you, has brought you all the way through and will continue to carry you. So you are very loved. Have a great day.